Hello, my name is Paul Ruiz. One of the most common questions we receive is, now that I've set up my self-directed IRA, how do I fund it? There are two primary methods self-directed IRA holders use to move funds into their self-directed IRA, and those are via transfers and rollovers. Understanding the difference between these two strategies is crucial when it comes to effectively managing your retirement savings. So let's dive in. First, let's clarify the main difference between a transfer and a rollover. Transfers are used to move funds directly between the same account type, which means a traditional to traditional, a Roth IRA to a Roth IRA, or a simple IRA to a simple IRA. While rollovers are used to move funds indirectly from the same type of account or another type of an account. For instance, if you have a traditional IRA at another institution and you would like to move it to another IRA, such as your IRA at the Entrust Group, you would initiate a transfer. In a transfer, funds move directly from the other financial institution to your IRA at the Entrust Group, meaning that the account type remains the same, a traditional to traditional, Roth to Roth, or a simple to simple. Because you never take possession of the funds, it is not considered a distribution. Therefore, there is no reporting or taxation involved in this particular type of transaction. Now let's talk about rollovers. The first type of rollover is what we call a direct rollover. This particular transaction mainly is talking about moving assets from an employer-sponsored plan, such as your 401k plan, your 403b plan, or governmental 457b plan, to your IRA. For instance, if majority of your funds are in a 401k plan, a 403b, or governmental 457b plan, by requesting your plan administrator or your previous employer, you can have them move the funds directly to your IRA at the Entrust Group via what we call a direct rollover. Unlike a transfer, however, this transaction is reportable since they're non-like plans. However, since it's not considered a distribution, there's no taxation and therefore there's no amounts withheld for any tax liabilities. The second type of rollover is what we call an indirect rollover. This is where you, the IRA holder, may have requested a distribution from your 401k plan or another IRA. This amount can be put back in or rolled back in within a statutory time frame of 60 days. 60 days start from the day after you've actually received the funds. Now, this is not the recommended way to move funds. However, you can still move funds via what we call an indirect rollover. But since the first part of this transaction is considered a distribution, withholding rules do apply to those particular amounts that are distributed. Distributions from 401k plans, 403bs, and governmental 457b plans require 20% to be withheld from that distribution. Whereas in IRAs, the minimum amount is 10%, unless, of course, you waive that amount from the distribution. The amounts distributed must be rolled back within 60 days to avoid taxation, and any amounts withheld must be made out of pocket to avoid taxation. This process involves more risk, as it involves taking a distribution from these retirement plans and having to roll it back within a certain time frame of 60 days. Now, 60 days should be ample time for you to be able to roll over or put back the amount that you distributed. However, if you procrastinate and that amount is not rolled back in within the 60-day period, that amount will not only be subject to tax, but also could be subject to an additional 10% early distribution penalty if you're under the age of 59 and a half. Now, before you initiate a rollover, here are a few tips you might want to keep in mind. Now, if you're taking a distribution from an IRA and you decide to roll it over, you are limited from taking another distribution that is eligible to be rolled over within a 12-month period. The 12-month period begins from the date of your distribution. This means that if you've taken one of those distributions and rolled it over, you cannot roll over another distribution within that same 12-month period, thus therefore limiting you to one rollover in a 12-month period. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you're over the age of 73, meaning you're taking required minimum distributions are not eligible to be rolled over. So therefore, keep in mind, set aside that required minimum distribution and only roll over the amount above the amount of your required minimum distribution for the year. And lastly, if you'd like to roll over your 401k plan, 403b, or governmental 457b plan to an IRA, make sure that you have what we call a distributable event, or what we call a trigger. Here are some examples of a trigger. You've separated from service or reached normal retirement age are a few of the common reasons why you could take money out of your 401k plan. If you don't have one of those distributable events, you may still be able to access a portion of your 401k dollars under your employer-sponsored plan. Check with your plan administrator, however. This distribution is what we call an in-service distribution. In-service distributions only apply to your vested employer contributions, such as your profit-sharing contribution or matching contributions made by your employer. Now, if you're not sure whether or not your plan has an in-service distribution provision, check with the HR department of your employer. They should be able to lead you to the right answer in regards to in-service distributions from the plan you currently participate in. Now, another way to fund your self-directed IRA is by making your yearly or annual contributions. Now, contributions can be made via check, wire transfer, or an electronic funds transfer. Make sure to review the current limits set forth by the IRS. For tax year 2023, the maximum contribution, if you have enough earned income, is $6,500. And if you're age 50 and older, you can make an additional $1,000 contribution called a catch-up, which makes your limit up to $7,500. Make sure again that you have enough earned income to support that contribution. Starting in 2024, this catch-up contribution of $1,000 could be increased due to cost of living adjustments. Now, starting in 2025, if you're age 60 to 63, you may see a substantial increase in these particular limits. This is due to the passage of a recent tax law called the Secure Act 2.0. If you'd like more in-depth information about transfers and rollovers, visit our blog post in the description below. This article includes 8 of the most common frequently asked questions about funding your self-directed IRA. If you're interested in learning more about self-direction, check out our Self-Directed IRA Basics Guide.